Welcome to another tutorial. I'm your host Fraser and this is a Create Vision video. In this tutorial I'm just going to be walking through the process of using predefined functions from the CMATs, so C++ programming. So in front of us I have a few basic concepts, but my main point is how to use predefined functions. So what is a predefined function? A predefined function is a function built in the software that does not have to be created by the programmer. A function that has already been written in programming language. So say for instance you want to calculate I'm using CMAT, so my functions are imported from the C class um, program that has already been written by our professional programmers. So if you want to create say certain programs, um, you would basically be required to use things that have already been created by a programmer, and some of them you wouldn't want to waste your time in compiling them because there are already libraries that have been written by certain programmers um, who use common functions in order for you to achieve your task. Say for instance I want to calculate the powers. So everybody knows that the power of something is 2 to the power of something, right? So I'm using 2 to the power. And everybody knows like 2 to the power is 2 and x at the top, right? X will be the value that you want to input in your function. So for instance, over here I have a function called power, which has been imported from the CMATs class. In that class, already 2 to the x has been computed. Like, say you have a calculator, and on your calculator is 2 to the x. If you look carefully, it depends what model you have. So I have in front of me a program that runs a basic function, and this function is calculating the radius of a sphere, uh, basically plotting the sphere and the volume of my sphere. And already I have uh, predefined functions within my program. So the main point of this programming exercise is to find to use our predefined programs. So in here I have, my first one was using a predefined program of a power, because I wanted to calculate the sphere of my volume, which is times by pi. Pi is my constant up here, and we know pi is 3.14 onwards to infinity, some would argue. The volume of my sphere, in calculating it, I've used my power function, which is a predefined function. Followed by distance. Everybody knows that the distance, when you're calculating in analytical geometry, it's like d is equal to x plus x squared plus y squared over a root. So this represents my x squared, and then my power function within my squared form, and yeah, so my predefined function would be the square root, because you don't want to write a program that's basically showing you how to do the square root of a value, because it's already been written by professional programmers, so obviously you would use that. My only difference is creating the function of distance, right? Distance, if you look up here, I have a variable called distance, and it's in the form of a double. But remember, distance is square root over your points, for instance. So my square root is my predefined function, and I don't want to write a program defining a predefined function, followed by my power, which is also a predefined function written by professional programmers, and then onwards, basically distance and all that. And then I have normal print statements, see out, telling you what the distance is and all that jazz. But the main point of my programming is just showing you how predefined functions work. Predefined functions have been built by professional programmers, which enable you to do certain tasks. So, for instance, you can have a random generator. You don't want to create your own program of a random generator. So in my program, I've used the square root and the power predefined function. So let's build and run this to see how it works. Let me just get rid of what I wrote earlier. So predefined. So enter the radius of my sphere. So I'm going to use a nice number, my radius of uh, 10, and that gives you the volume of the sphere which I have written. And then in this one, to demonstrate how my predefined functions uses the square root of square root functions that have been written by professional programmers, I've just asked you to input a few values. So I can input 5, -5, 10, and 11, and then the distance will be calculated right here. Okay, so what you need to keep in mind in this tutorial is that somewhere out there a C++ programmer has written functions which can be found in certain libraries. So you have, this is why this is a very important statement when you're including libraries at the beginning of a program. You see, if I comment out this statement, you will incur an error, because it'll be like, hey, you've used a power function, but you haven't defined a power function. You understand? So at the beginning of your program, you have to include a certain files. So if you're going to be using, for instance, mathematical files, you will include C++ mathematical files. So, and which will prevent you from having errors. So if you see my program runs now, even though I wasn't able to I was able to only import certain libraries that have already been created by professional programmers, and those libraries have predefined functions which can certainly be used in order for you to compile your programs. It's very interesting knowing that some stuff have been written for you. You as a programmer have to figure out, how do I put these predefined functions right over here, which have been included, which must be included for certain programs, how do I put them together in order for me to write the program that I desire for myself. And yeah, I guess thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe.